All right, we're here. Ricky Aguayo.
Ricky.
Oh yeah, this is Ricky. And this is our very first alumni spotlight. Ricky, you're the perfect person.
Has to be Ricky.
Has to be Ricky. So tell us, introduce yourself. Tell us when you were in band, all those things.
So my name's Ricky. I was in band between the years of 2006 and 2010 as a student here. And then for 9 seasons, I came and was a part of the staff between 2013 and 2021. Yeah.
What I just heard in that is that you're old.
Ricky, yeah. Ricky's,
As I was talking, I heard the same thing.
Ricky's tenure at Flower Mound is longer than mine. I mean, so I think Ricky's older than me. I think that's how that math works.
Is it longer than mine?
No, you're really old.
That's awesome. So I was here when you got here, right?
Yeah, so
But I was an assistant?
Yeah, so your first year was my sophomore year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, so you were here before me?
Yeah, so I had I had 1 year before you got here. Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah.
What
All right.
instrument?
Trumpet, of course, the best instrument.
The best
That's
instrument.
unfortunate.
instrument.
No question.
Unfortunate. So,
What are you doing now? Tell us a little bit about
So now
Ricky nowadays.
I'm a software engineer. I live and work up in Colorado as a software engineer, which is completely different from music. But yeah, that's what I do now.
That's awesome. Tell us about your path. When you graduated, what'd you do?
I did a few things. So, I went off to college. I, of course, went and did drum corps, which was a lot of fun. And I ultimately ended up just kind of learning how to code myself. And then after I did that for about a year or so, I went off and started looking for jobs and stuff like that until I found something. And now I've been in the industry for about 5 or 6 years. Yeah, so I did music for a little bit after high school, but ultimately just ended in the tech world.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's probably the right world to be in. I mean, let's be honest.
a little bit more lucrative.
Yeah.
A little bit more lucrative. Okay, so when you were a student here, 2009 to when?
6 to 10.
6 to 10.
6
Okay.
to 10.
What was your favorite show?
Oh gosh. They were all bad.
Correct.
I think my favorite show was the last one, my senior year, which was heavy metal, I believe it was. And that's because the culture had started to kind of like cultivate a little bit more of like taking marching band seriously, and it's not just kind of like a pastime. I think in my time, I was a part of a small group of people who really did care about being good, and everyone else didn't really. And so like towards the end of my time at Flower Mound, we were starting to get a little better, and which was always great. And then coming back and seeing how the culture was cultivated after I left was awesome.
I always remember you, Ricky. We just talked about this a little bit, but Ricky, tell us about you as a freshman, because I think it's amazing. I think it's awesome.
I was uncoordinated. I was awful at my instrument. Anything you want in a marching band student, I was kind of the opposite. I really didn't care for the trumpet up until my junior year. I didn't really care for marching band up until around the same time. And so I went from being just this terrible trumpet player and not very good marcher. And then once things got a little more seriously, I started taking things more seriously and got better at the trumpet and stuff like that. But my freshman year, I was awful, just awful.
Which is true and awesome. I love it because when I remember you, thinking about you, when I got here, you were one of those people that I think in a lot of places it would be well, we don't care if he quits.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
If Ricky quits, he's not committed, he doesn't practice, he doesn't try to do anything. And then whatever it was, you all of a sudden decided no, I am going to practice. And I remember when I think about you now being in school, I remember you working your butt off. Mm-hmm. I remember you doing all of this stuff, and you got so much better, and you started to just work through this process, which I loved watching that.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was so cool. And I think of you a lot, actually, because we go out, Miss Harvey and I, do leadership things and stuff. And I always think of people like you, and I'll tell stories of people like you because we all have those kids that come into the band program and they're awful.
Mm-hmm.
And as directors, it's like, oh, well, this isn't the place for them. They shouldn't be there. And we always try to caution students, especially student leaders, of like, no, we have to find a way to get those people excited, and that we can't ever give up on those people, because we don't know what's going to happen. And sometimes it's not their thing, and that's okay. And they just go, no, this isn't my thing.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's that situation because they just don't know yet. Mm-hmm. And then something happens and they like all of a sudden decide that they're going to start working at it.
Yeah.
And that was you know what I mean? You went from like a total mess to like really great and doing all these things, and then ultimately taught here and did all this stuff. And I just think it's awesome. And I think that's something like, to me, that's what we do in music programs.
Right.
Is that.
Yes, absolutely.
You know what I mean? Because what you really did, it wasn't necessarily about trumpet, but you started to work hard and you did all these things, and it's cool. So now tell us, like, looking back now, because you're old.
Yes, of course. I just turned 31, so
31.
31.
My life's over.
I love it. I love it. So now tell us about, like, did being in the program, did it help you? Does it help you now? Is there anything, what do you think about it looking back, about your time in the program?
I think one of the biggest things, and this is something that I go back to a lot, even as an adult, is that like one of the biggest things that I learned from being in band is that you have to go through adversity because there's no other option, right? So on the days that we were outside and it was really, really hot, but you still want to be a good program, you still want to be a good march or whatever it may be, you have to go through those hot days, or the days where you just don't really feel like being out there or don't really feel like doing anything. The better option is still to go through it. I think that's something that I learned from here and from going into drum corps, is that it really doesn't matter how the day is going and stuff like that. If you have a goal, you still have to get at it. And there's no shortcut. There's no other way around it. Adversity is always going to be there, whether you're 18 or whether you're 50. You know, there's always going to be adversity in something, and the only way to go through it is to go through it. And I think that's one of the biggest things that I always take from marching band, because I feel like that's where I learned it. Here, being outside in the 100-degree weather and just saying, I'm gonna still do the best that I can, even though I'm sweating and my shirt is completely wet. You know, you still gotta do it. You still gotta do it.
Awesome. Well, Ricky, thank you from both of us. Ricky was really important to the program for so many years. Allowed us to do some like really crazy things when Biscup and I are trying to figure out how to make a machine fly and do all of these things. Ricky was down on the field, like making kids' feet be in time, and so important. So thank you. Yeah. You were so important to us for so many years, and so many of the kids, you know, still when Ricky shows up, they yell like, Ricky, like they're so excited to see him. So thank you from both of us. What was your favorite as a staff member? What was your favorite show to work on?
The last one I was a part of, which was the band show, I think it was called, which was the Dr. Seuss theme show. That was such a fun show, and it was because it was just so weird and it was so kooky and it was such a fun like process for all of that. I still think that like my favorite memories from that time were actually on the rehearsal field, just because we were trying to figure out this really, really weird show, and then we would listen to judges' tape and they couldn't figure out what to say because it was so different. It was just such a fun show. I really enjoyed that one.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, thank you.
Ricky, thanks for being here.
Yeah.
It's always great to see you.
Likewise.
We love when you come back, say hello, and all those good things. So.
All right. First Alumni Spotlight.
First one.
All right.